This is the September 10th public hearing for the city of Crescent Springs. Roll call, please.
Carol McGowan. Here. Mark Wertenberger.
Here.
Bob Mueller.
Here.
Don Kylie.
Here.
Brian Barclay.
Here.
Janine Bell Smith. Present.
Thank you very much. So this is the public hearing on the tax rates. As you can see from the overhead, there's some key drivers to this year's expenses. Police contracts up, fire contracts up. We have obligations that continue to increase. Brumman Crescent Springs Road project, the Amsterdam Road projects, both have a couple more years left on them. Playground equipment is this year. We're looking into street needs in the older section of Crescent Springs. We have to get a new dump truck. So those are some of the key things that are driving the amount of money that the city has to spend. Last year the rate was 0.212 per hundred. The compensating rate this year is 0.186. The compensating rate plus 4 is 0.193. I'm recommending the plus 4 rate of 0.193 per hundred. That will still give approximately 30% of our residents a tax decrease. It brings in an extra $37,000 for the city, because just like everybody's home expenses, the expenses of the city are going up too. We've added 8 full-time firefighters, police salaries, our own operations are all grown considerably. Again, we have the capital funds for the firehouse bond payment that goes through 2045. 1945. I wasn't even born then. We have the Brumman Crescent Springs Road project. We have 6 more years on that. The Amsterdam sidewalk project we have with the county in that. We'll have to see when that actually comes to fruition. But you know, that's a $2.5 million project that we'll have about 20% of. In a combination with the county and Villa Hills. So those are kind of my reasons for asking for the increase or the decrease, but the compensating plus 4 rate. This is for public comments. There's 2 residents here. Would either of you like to speak?
Jeff, you gonna say anything?
I will.
Are you going to? Well, since there's so many people here, I hate to have you guys leave early, so. But you earn your money here. This the one, you know?
I believe you're good.
It is really? Okay. Okay, you pretty well gave some idea why you're proposing to raise our taxes. I didn't see a whole lot of specifics in terms of dollars attached to the projects. But what I'd like to know is what is the assessed property value for the proposed tax rate?
I mean, for the entire city?
Yeah.
April, do you have that information?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gone up over the past couple of years. Just curious as to what that is. I'm sure the assessed value has gone up significantly.
Then the county just reassessed everybody this year, so
Yeah.
that's why the tax rate's actually going down.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that.
The total 2024 property subject to rate is 576 million.
576 million? Okay, thank you.
That's the total property.
Okay, that was compared to 410 million last year.
That would have been 473 million last year.
473. I had 410 according to the audit, but
Well, like I said, that was the total property subject to
Okay.
rate.
so what would the difference be between your number and the audit number for assessed property value?
I don't give that information without looking at it. I wouldn't want to
Okay, all right.
speak.
That, it's not a major problem, just curious. I just want to be clear, as some politicians want you to believe, is that a rate reduction is a savings. Reducing the rate is not a savings. There's still a tax increase. By law, in Kentucky, the rate must be a compensating rate or lower, or compensating rate plus 4%. If it's higher than the compensating rate plus 4%, it must go to the public for a recall vote. Now, the posting on the city website listed the proposed tax rates. The preceding year was 0.212. The proposed tax rate is 0.193, and the compensating tax rate is 0.186. Interestingly enough, though, the dollar amount was not listed. The mayor, Mr. Doherty, indicated that the increase over the compensating rate would be $37,939. Even with the compensating rate, the city's going to get $57,606. So there is going to be an increase in taxes. And I'd like to refer you to the budget that was approved by the council back in June 24th, 2024, which lists the revenue and the expenses, but it lists an estimated ending fund balance of $3,572,749. The balance sheet as of June 30th, 2024 is $4,102,488. So basically, if we just look at the lower number of $3,572,749, I'd like to know, what is the city's written policy on a reserve funds balance?
April, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe there's a written policy. There's a standard that the auditor says that is 9 months.
That's correct.
There's nothing in the audit reports indicating that, period.
No.
I reviewed the last couple of audits, nothing written in there.
Regarding the auditor's recommendation?
Yes,
That was-
regarding
that
the
was-
reserve fund balance, there's nothing written in the auditor's report.
Not in the audit report, but the past 2 audits that we've had, when Mr. Chamberlain has come in and presented, that question was brought up, and Mr. Chamberlain answered it at that time during both of those meetings.
Okay, but there's nothing in writing indicating.
There's nothing in writing,
Okay,
because it's a recommendation.
all right, well, just using that lower number, other than the balance sheet number of $3,572,749, the previous finance committee, when Nick Bannistock was the chairman, they recommended a fund reserve balance of 4 months of the expenses. And the Government Financial Officers Association recommends 15%. So if you use the Finance Committee's recommendation, you're talking about a fund balance of $1,362,851. That's 4 months. If you use the Government Financial Officers Association recommendation of 15%, that is $613,283. So there are some recommendations by some authorities. I had never heard about the auditor's recommendation. I've seen nothing in writing about it. But I can give you the writing, I can give you the recommendation in writing by the Government Financial Officers Association if you want it. Okay. Next is at the end of June 30th, the last fiscal year 2024, you had a surplus net income of $735,657. And the year before that, you had a net income surplus of $435,952. Is that correct, Mark?
I don't know off the top of my head, the last year was 700,000, sounds about right.
Okay, net income surplus. Okay, so even though you had that net income surplus, the council went ahead and raised taxes. You raised the rate from 0.211 to 0.212, which is basically it's a frivolous increase in taxes, given the fact that you had that kind of net income of $435,952 the previous year, and this year $735,657. Councilman Barclay, McGowan, and Wurtenberger voted for that increase. Councilman Kiley, Schultz, and Bell Smith voted no, and the mayor broke the tie, saying yes, let's have the increase. In addition to that, the city has an investment in Kentucky League of City Funds of $1,078,695. In addition to that, the city's bringing in over $55,000 in new property revenue. Also, from what I understand from the last council meeting, there's $80,000 being returned from the fire authority. So in summary, the city has a reserve fund balance, or capital, if you want to call it that, that's probably what you would call it, Mark, of $3,572,749. There's no written policy about having a reserve fund balance. Using the previous recommendation of 4 months, the reserve balance of $1,362,851 leaves an excess of $2,209,898. There are no specifics, although the mayor mentioned some projects, there's no specifics in terms of dollars tied to those projects. You probably could be accused of hoarding money and then dreaming up projects to spend it on. Our taxes should not be raised. At the most, you should accept the compensating rate. At the most. You probably, based on this fund balance that you have, you probably should lower our taxes. But at the very least, or the very most, you should adopt a compensating rate. The timing could not be better for this tax increase. I'm very happy that after that, there's a special meeting where your votes will be on the record of what you do about this tax increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty.
Would you like me to address a couple of those concerns or not?
Mr. Smith?
Oh, just one question. Just what was the total reserve? I'm sorry. I got two bad names. I'm sorry.
Mark, give that number what the total reserve is?
When you say reserve, you mean cash balance?
Yes.
At the end of 6/30, 3.9.
3.9.
3.9.
Any other comments from anybody? There's nobody in the gallery, so let's move to question. I'll take a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Anybody?
I'll make a motion and in the public hearing.
Just a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. This is the special council meeting, September 10th, City of Crescent Springs. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Carol McGowan,
Here.
Mark Ortenberger,
Here.
Bob Mueller,
Here.
Don Kylan,
Here.
Brian Barclay,
Here.
Janine Bell Smith.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Daly, the presentation for the municipal revenue, please.
Thank you, Mayor Doherty. So a few points to make in my report for the 24-25 road aid funds. The city is expecting to receive approximately a little under 92,000 in municipal road aid funds this year, as well as 74,000 in emergency funds, which we just recently found out about, for the repair of Harris Avenue. 4,000 of this has been budgeted for street maintenance materials such as blacktop patch, and a little over 207,000 has been budgeted for road reconstruction and repairs. As you will see in my report, and the reports are also listed on our website for our residents to see if they wish, but it lists the actual roads and areas that we're looking at this year based on cost and urgency. Harris Avenue, Park Street, Crescent Avenue, Railroad Parking Lot, which is the Crescent Avenue near railroad tracks, the Park and Ride, which is Anderson at Eubanks, and overlook from the firehouse area to Buttermilk. And we are also going to crack and seal, obviously striping the city building parking lot. Like I mentioned in a report a few months back, this is distributed to the city at three different times. And that first distribution is coming here shortly, which will be just around 55K. And ultimately by June 30th, they'll have the final distribution. And that's all I have in this report. However, if there are any questions, I will try to answer them for you.
Any questions, gentlemen? The one thing that I will mention, the 74,000 in emergency road aid is for Harris Street. We're just trying to tie down some ends on that to try to put that into the schedule, somebody to get it completed so that they saw our need, they helped us. And so that's definitely going to happen. It's just a matter of, can it happen before winter or after winter, based on timing.
Thank you.
Thank you. That ends the discussion on the road aid, tax discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, that's you all.
So, I spent a decent amount of time cobbling a lot of things together from different reports and data. I want to thank April for giving me the time and helping me walk through a lot of different things. But essentially what I did is I took the tax roll by parcel ID for the entire city. And then I cobbled together with addresses to try to get a heat map of where people are impacted more on this new valuation after PBA. It's really hard to do, couldn't really put it together as well as I wanted to do, but broke it out into chunks. And what I'm seeing is that for homes less than $500,000 in the city, taking out the properties that went to zero and taking out properties over $1 million. The $500,000 and below houses are going to see a net increase of $42.35 to their tax responsibility for a sum increase, and this is at the comp plus 4, excuse me, for a sum increase of all of those houses of $52,847. For the houses at $500,000 or above, the average increase is a negative $93.75. The sum is a negative $9,281, based upon bucketing it at $500,000 and up, $500,000 and down.
Yeah, but you're using the compensating rate, you're using the +4. What's the numbers on the compensating rate?
Maybe ask
So-
the microphone.
excuse- We'll have time to ask questions.
Oh, okay.
I would also like to get through my point first, because I think that you'll be okay with it. Because of that, I am not confident that we are not putting a bigger burden on our lower household, our lower net income, net worth, and lower property value houses as opposed to the higher property value houses. And as for that, I am not in favor of +4 at all. So that's where I stand.
Any other comments from council?
We're talking about the roads?
No, we're talking about tax rate.
No, we're switching around here.
No, we're following the agenda.
Yeah, I understand that.
And I just closed the road discussion because nobody had any comments.
All right. Well, I'm hearing roads intermittently here. I'll wait. Thank you.
We're on. Do you have anything about the taxes?
Well, yeah, I'm very concerned about the increase in the property tax rate. My area where I live, 850 River Watch Drive, our houses are being hit pretty hard. We have young families there. They have new homes. They're taking care of their property. And their appreciation of their homes will be exponentially increased. Personally, for myself, my increase will be 17% of what I paid last year, which has been quite low. But of course, I have the homestead, which some of us might also have. But I do believe that we do not need a tax increase. We need to stay with the compensating rate of 1.183.
1.6.
And anything other than that is a no vote for me.
Okay.
I have done a lot of study and a lot of information and numbers. The compensating rate of 186 works. That's our city budget. Well, we haven't read the ordinance yet, so I don't comment on that yet.
The ordinance was read at the last council meeting at 1.186.
Yeah, I remember. I got a compensating rate, and we want to increase that to 0.193. Correct?
That's what I'm asking for.
And
Yes.
I will vote no on an ordinance 2024-5, the property tax. Because Crescent Springs has 55,000 for new home properties coming in. We have 80,000, which is coming back from the fire authority, is that correct?
That's the estimate, yes.
Okay, that's an estimate.
Can I clarify that?
And then, excuse me,
It's actually more.
I have the floor.
Just trying to help you.
Excuse me. You were concerned before about someone interrupting.
Please continue.
Thank you. No, okay, thank you. Also, we do have our investment in Kentucky League of Cities, which is $1,078,695. We have our reserve funding for a rainy day fund, or the reserve, whatever you need to call it, is $3,572 and 749. Those are the reserves. $3,572,949. I think that is an excessive amount for a rainy day fund, and that is another reason why we don't have to increase the property taxes on our people we're having a very difficult time with our economic issues. You know, like the old saying is, it's the economy, stupid. You remember that from way back when? Not calling anybody here stupid, but I sort of like that phrase. We also have an increase in everyday home and living expenses. I see that also. I move on here. I know this auditor, Mr. John Chamberlain, I believe he did mention that we needed a reserve of 4 months. Is that correct?
I believe it was 9 that he mentioned.
Well, for some reason I was able to pick up 4. We'll stand corrected and informed then. But why is this property tax of not a .193 when we have $2,381? I mean, $381,823 in excess. $2,381,000 in excess. And we do not need that much in our reserves. That's the rainy day fund. So my contention is we have such a good rainy day fund, such as I've had in my figures, running my household, we don't need to increase the tax rate. Because once the tax rate is increased, it never goes down.
Can I clarify the firehouse?
The
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished, I apologize.
just can't contain it, okay. Therefore, ordinance 2024-5, a vote is needed as the numbers beg the question on an increase in the property tax is above the critical race, the compensating rate of 1.86 and is unnecessary and not needed. And my vote will be no. You may speak now, Mr. Barclay.
Sorry, I really didn't mean to interrupt you the second time. The firehouse is not 80,000. It's approximately 196,000 split between the two cities. I mean, it's ballpark 80, but I mean, conversationally, I just want to make sure that, you know, if it comes in at 79.5 or 82, that there isn't going to be a, well, you said 80. So it's 196 roughly split between the cities. So there is money coming back. It's approximately 80,000.
Would you document that
It
in
was
handwriting for me, please?
It was. It's in the. It was.
No, I'm asking you to do that, sir.
No, it's already done.
I
You
believe
would not.
it's in the minutes from last, because it was discussed at the last council meeting.
Well, I'd like to see that
Duplicate
first thing from Mr. Barclay.
No, I'm not going to provide you anything that's
Thank
already
you.
been provided.
I have your answer.
Any other comments?
Just to add, I think the suspected 80K, we're gonna get back from the fire, the 250, we're gonna get to the grant for the park, and then the additional development tax that we got coming in now, I don't see a reason for this, so.
Is the 250 from the park going to be a subtraction?
Yes.
It is, okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. Any public comments that haven't already been said on the tax rates?
No, I have no more comments. I think my issues were well represented.
Okay, that's fine.
So thank you.
I did have a question for April. In one of the conversations we had, I think you said to do this year's budget, you basically started zero base. And when you did that, it felt like revenues were just about matching anticipated expenses.
Due to the over $400,000 increase in safety services that began this year, the expenses and the revenues are almost equal. So with this budget, we're taking a little over $400,000 out of the general fund, out of the rainy day fund, in order to fund the budget, because the money is not there to do any additional projects, any additional road work.
So is the 400 to cover the increase, I want to say primarily for the fire personnel, or is it to cover road projects, et cetera?
It's, in this budget, it was to cover the, I guess, safety services. Is that
Well,
correct?
park is included in that number.
That 250 or whatever.
detriment is a park, so if you take that out, then I think it's more like 150. And additional operating expenses is kind of what you're trying to get at.
Yes,
And that's 150 between fire and police.
Sure. But no, I think I would just review it more as overall expenses went up from 3.4 to 3.6 or something like that. That's what you're trying to get at.
yeah, I mean, again, I'm late to the party here, but it seems like that uptick in fire personnel hit all at once this fiscal.
Correct.
And
Can I add, with road projects, we can no longer rely on MRA funding to handle our road projects in our community here anymore. In years past, that was the way it was done and able to do it. However, the cost for road projects has increased significantly. And because of that, we're now starting to take out of our general fund, which is for good use, to be able to complete some of our road projects.
And that's the 3.5, 3.7 million.
Correct.
And I think one other comment you made was, I probably simplified it and said, so with the comp plus 4, we'll be 35,000 better. And I think you said, well, it really means we just won't take 35 out of the reserve.
Correct,
Essentially,
correct.
is kind of how we're approaching it. Okay. And if I listen to the folks that, you know, are advocating that reserve be less, would the logical outcome of that be that for any additional expenses, we would tap into that reserve and reduce it from 3.5 to whatever?
Yeah, the budget is tapping into it this year.
Already?
Yeah, we're into that, yeah.
Understood.
So just will do it more.
Got it.
That's the difference between two scenarios.
I think when it comes to the reserve funds, it should be more than what some people heard on the auditor at 4 months versus 9 months. I think we need a higher amount just because we have a railroad that goes through our town. And you can look at New Palestine, Ohio, the trouble that they had, and didn't get the reimbursement that maybe they thought they should have gotten or not. I'm looking at a disaster. We're a small city. Where are we gonna pull funds from if there's some big disaster? So I'm more for a higher reserve than smaller.
And I think, again, I want to apologize, who said, but our reserve seems to be comparatively small in the
Correct.
region. Is that true or not?
That's correct. Compared to other cities our size, yes, we have a significantly less amount of money.
And we still maintain, to the credit of many councils, one of the lowest, top 3 or 5 tax rates in the area, correct?
We've been the second lowest for several years in a row.
Mayor, what would 4 months of reserve be for the city? Just curious.
Yeah, go, if you can, I don't wanna give you the wrong number.
I think it's about 200K a month, so
4 months is 800,000, and round number, round number.
So call it $1 million versus 3.5.
Well, what's your reserve for, to cover the expenses, 4 months of expenses?
isn't that what everybody's talking about? Like,
That would be 1,362,851, assuming the budget that you passed back on June the 24th, your expenses are listed at 4,088,553.
yeah, but does not include the park as an expense?
Yeah, the park's included in here.
So I wouldn't.
Everything is.
Yeah, but I wouldn't include that in the analysis that they're trying to do, so I think you should back out the park, is my point, that's all.
Back out the park as an expense?
Yeah, because it's not an operating expense, they're trying to get back to what's it cost to keep the lights on, and that's not an expense.
Well, is it included in the budget or not?
Yes, it
That's my
is.
question. Is it included in the budget or not?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's,
And I'm just saying you should back it,
I don't need any more.
to answer Bob's question, you should back out that expense when you're trying to annualize and come up with your run rate of your operating expenses. Cleaning up, fixing the park, capital improvement is not an operating expense. Fixing the roads, 200 grand every year, because we average that now, that's an operating expense. That's the difference between the two.
A going expense versus.
Yes,
Correct.
And no, yeah, we don't know the 200 roads, it's gonna be at least 200 roads a year, probably 3, whatever. A year, somewhere is gonna need that. And 80 grand from the MRA fund,
With
Mike's
regards
Excuse
to,
you.
with regards
He's
to,
speaking.
oh, I'm sorry. I
Mr.
thought you were
Flaherty.
finished.
so the MRA fund, was he was referring to earlier, it's been averaging around 80 grand a year, and that's just not sufficient anymore, was the entire point of that. So if we're talking operating expenses, fixing roads is an operating expense going forward, in my opinion.
It's a trifecta, if it's running the city or county, police, fire EMS and roads.
Yeah, infrastructure, yeah.
And rainy day, I mean, I think we all kind of appreciate having that versus not. I mean, so, but I don't know what the magic number is.
There is no magic.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
There is no magic number.
So, well, you have to go based on some authorities that recommend things. You have no policy written for a rainy day fund. And to your remark earlier about a railroad coming through here, you have a disaster, you have a commercial insurance policy that covers that kind of stuff.
I'd ask the people up in the house, you know, how to vote.
Well, didn't FEMA come in and address
Yeah,
that?
they think that, all right.
Okay, let's, okay, so the ordinance as it was read, the first, at the reading last month, was at the compensating rate plus 4.193. It can be reread at that rate, it can be read at the compensating rate, and voted on it either way. What I need is a motion for one
Make
of
a
those
motion
options.
to read it at the compensating rate.
I second that.
Any other discussion?
Do you see?
Compensating rates of
Compensating rates,
0.186.
changes.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please. Oh, wait a minute.
We're not gonna use the increased compensating rate. We're going back to 1.186.
Councilman Ortenberger's made a motion for the 0.186. So that is that will be the rate that is read.
That would be in my agreement then?
That's up to you. I'm not gonna tell you what's in your
You know,
agreement.
what I'm saying, we had basically put down here it was going to be higher. We're going to increase
The
property tax. So
way we read the
decided-
ordinance was 1.93.
And we're not going to go there.
Mr. Ortenberger made the suggestion of 0.186. So it'll be 0.186 as being read here in just a moment.
Got it, thank you.
Councilor.
Thank you. Ordinance 2024.5, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, providing for the assessment of real estate and personal tangible property within the corporate limits of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, and levying an ad valorem tax on each $100 of assessed valuation of said property in the city for the fiscal year 2024-2025, and specifying the purpose for which the tax is levied. Be it ordained by the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky. Section 1, an ad valorem tax is hereby assessed and levied for the fiscal year 2024-2025 against all real estate within the corporate limits of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, at the rate of 0.186 on each $100 valuation as assessed January 1, 2024, and against all tangible personal property at the rate of 0.191 on each $100 valuation as assessed January 1, 2024, to be collected as provided by law in the existing ordinances of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky. City tax bills are due October 31, 2024. Any bill in an amount less than $1 will be waived by the city, and no such bill need to be sent to any taxpayer. Section 2. The ad valorem tax is levied to pay the general cost of carrying on the business of the government of the city as provided in the adopted budget. Section 3. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are to the extent of such conflict if any hereby repealed.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Okay, that was, sorry about the wording as well. We're doing,
I'm in motion to change it down to the lower rate.
okay, all right,
And that's
I'm just
what
trying to
you
get
said.
the process here. Carol McGowan,
Yes.
Mark Wardenberger,
Yes.
Bob Mueller,
Yes.
Don Kiley,
Yes.
Brian Barclay,
Yes.
Janine Bell Smith.
Yes,
That passes 6-0. That is the last item on the agenda, and since it's a special meeting, it's the last item to be discussed. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you all.